Since the Arab Spring swept Syria in 2011, tens of thousands of people have disappeared in President Assad's secret prisons.
يعني إن ابني اتأخذ ومفقود ما أعرف إنه هو عايش وميت وإيش وكذا.
Thousands have died inside. The brutality continues today.
These are torture chambers, full stop.
Prisoners have smuggled news to their families, written in their own blood. Survivors have come out with stories of the horror they witnessed. Now they're fighting to free those still detained and to prosecute the perpetrators.
راح أسعى إلا ما أجيبه مع المحكمة وأخذ حقي بالقانون.
I'm a career servant in the field of international criminal justice. I worked at the Yugoslavia Tribunal, Rwanda Tribunal. I was the first investigator at the International Criminal Court. This will be the final act in my career.
Bill Wiley and his team of war crimes investigators have been smuggling material out of Syria to a secret location in Europe.
We've extracted about 600,000 pages of regime documentation.
A wealth of potential evidence abandoned by the Syrian regime that could help build the case for a criminal prosecution.
The king or queen, if you will, of evidence in any international criminal investigation is always documentation. It isn't really easily cross-examined because it's factual, it's truth.
In the cache of papers, investigators found thousands of internal communications relating to mass arrests. With tens of thousands of Syrians disappeared in detention since 2011 and allegations of abuse, Bill's team wanted to find out whether the arrests were part of a systematic policy.
We're trying to lay the foundations for a prosecution along the Nuremberg lines where the prosecutors can lead with heavy, irrefutable documentary material.
Stephen Rapp has prosecuted some of the worst mass atrocity crimes in recent history. He's working with Bill Wiley on the case.
It was said in Nuremberg that the Nazis were, largely convicted on their own documentary evidence. You have a country that's like the Germans in a way, document mad. They document things that even implicate themselves.
We didn't set out to build a case against President Assad or any other individual. We went where the documents took us.
The paper trail first led the investigators to the protests that began in Syria in 2011 and to the fate of those who took to the streets.
أنا اسمي مازن حمادة من سوريا دير الزور. كنت بشتغل بشركة فرنسية. عشت حياتي مع أهلي. كان جونا حيل رائع، قد ما تتصور جونا هذا.
Mazen came from a left-wing, middle-class family who had been targeted by the Syrian regime for decades for wanting democratic change. They opposed the authoritarian rule of the Assad family, who had governed Syria with a repressive military and security apparatus for over 40 years. Then in 2011, the Arab Spring swept across Syria.
Let's go!
تشوف المظاهرات قلبك يفرفح يطير. يا الله معقول يا زلمة، ما حد كان يصدق، والله ما حد كان يصدقوك تماما. يعني كل الناس فرحانة، صارت العالم تشغل أفكار، تعمل أفكار، تشغل عقلها. كان تولي ما بي ممنوع.
Mariam Halak, a head teacher from Damascus, was a supporter of the regime and a member of President Assad's ruling Ba'ath Party. But her youngest son, Aham, a dentistry graduate, joined the protests.
بشكل عام كان شاب سوي. كان كتير في علاقة مميزة يعني، فكان كتير فرحة بالبيت يعني هو.
Although Mariam opposed the demonstrations at first, she was won over by her son's enthusiasm.
كان يرجع شخص ثاني، عيونه عم تلمع، وشه أحمر هيك، يعني فرحة هيك كان، إنه خاصة مثلا وقت اللي كانت هي الرقصات. فكنت كمان هيك شعرت يعني شعرنا بجزء من الحرية، يعني إنه بدنا دولة مدنية حرية في بس. ننتخب انتخاب حر.
From the outset, President Assad's forces responded by shooting protesters, killing scores of people. The regime's violent repression just brought more protesters to the streets. As the regime looked like it was losing control, it issued an order to arrest people on an unprecedented scale. War crimes investigators have pieced together what happened behind the scenes. Among the 600,000 pages of smuggled Syrian intelligence documents, they discovered this.
This is the key document which sets out the policy of the regime after several months of protests. It sets out the categories of persons to be detained for interrogation. So, in particular, financiers of demonstrations, persons who instigate demonstrations, and persons who communicate with foreign media or international organizations.
The order was from the top of the Syrian regime, from a body akin to a war cabinet established to deal with the protests. The investigators have thousands of documents showing it was passed all the way down the chain of command.
The regime was hammering peaceful protesters.
The security forces made mass arrests, and the regime created more detention facilities to cope with the influx of detainees. Hospitals became part of this system. One of them was Tishreen Military Hospital in Damascus. Mohammed al-Hamoud worked at the hospital for the regime. He's a defector. He headed an emergency department and was there when some of the first protesters were brought in by the security forces.
أنزلوهم بطريقة وحشية فظيعة لا توصف أبداً. بالليل كان من فوق الباص أو من فوق السيارة يرمل شخص على الأرض، إذا كان جثة أو إذا كان جريح. التعذيب كان مستمر من مدخل من باب الإسعاف، من السيارة يرمى على الأرض، يعذب الجريح أو الجثة. كانت جثة تعذب، يضرب بالهروات وبأخمص البارودة الخشبي، وهذا الختيار نضل ينضرب بأخمص البارودة حتى يجبر على هذا الاعتراف. وكان يقول لهم أنا لا أعرف شو تظاهر ولا لي علاقة بالتظاهر، أنا جيت بالصدفة أدور على ابني إذا كان موجود بيناتهم واعتقلتوني. فعذبوه، صار عنده كسر أضلاع، صار عنده تكدم رئة، ومات في اليوم الأول.
Over 200,000 people were arrested in a matter of months. Mariam's son, Aham, started working for a Syrian human rights group documenting the disappearances.
The first time I met Aham, I was in my office. He was coming to me joking, and he was like smiling. He has like a special smile. I thought he was funny, and he was very nice.
Mansour al-Omari and Aham had only been working at the human rights organization for a month when their offices were raided by the security forces.
Soldiers were coming in like they were in a battlefield. They were carrying rifles, pointing at us, their rifles. We were all shocked.
اجا ابني غسان شوفي اجوا اخذوا من المركز كلياتهم 13 شخص 8 شباب و5 بنات. مين؟ قال الجوية. فنحن كلمة هي الجوية لحالها مرعبة يعني.
The Air Force Intelligence Branch at Mezze Military Airport in Damascus, where Aham, Mansour and their colleagues were taken, is the site of one of the most notorious detention facilities in Syria.
Some of us were like destroyed. We were of course scared, and Aham was different, really. He was like smiling, trying to make us smile. He sang, he wanted us to sing with him all the time.
After a month, Mansour and Aham were moved to another detention facility.
Because Aham is a doctor, they were beating him more. It was like that. They used to come, the soldiers used to come down and ask, where is the doctor? That's what they say. So each time he came in, he had 2 or 3 open wounds. And the rest of his body is red or blue. He changed. He was silent all the time. Maybe because of the beating he was getting, because he suffered so much. I don't know how he handled it.
Meanwhile, Mazen too had come to the attention of the security forces for organizing protests in his hometown. He fled to Damascus to evade capture. Investigators have thousands of arrest lists of who was wanted by the regime. We asked them to search for Mazen's name in the documents.
Okay, so we've got a hit here. It's Mazen al-Hamada. What's been logged here is a note dated January 2012 indicating that a certain Mazen al-Hamada and indeed certain of his associates should be picked up or detained if they come across him. What effectively they're saying is, we're looking for him, and if you come across him, arrest him.
In March 2012, Mazen was in a cafe with his nephews after they'd helped supply baby formula to a besieged area.
احنا قاعدين نشرب شاي، عم نمزح ونضحك بين بعضنا تماما، ما نحس الا بست كبس الامن. حطوا القمصان براسنا، انا حطوني بباجاج السياره لحد ما وصلنا مكان. اول سؤال سالته مين انا وين؟ وهو يقول انت بمطار المزه فرع المخابرات الجويه.
Mazen, like Aham and Mansour, had joined the tens of thousands of Syrians disappearing in the regime's clandestine detention facilities.
أو اسمي على التحقيق، طمشني كلبشني وأخذني فوتني على غرفة ونزلني على ركبي وإيديني هيك. اسمك؟ قلنا له ما عندنا هذا. شو مساوي؟ قلنا له والله طلعنا مظاهرات يعني مظاهرات، تصوير، نقل أخبار كذا. فهمت شلون؟ اللي عمليتي قال بدك تعترف غير هالاعترافات هاي. قلت له ماني عامل شيء. قال لي شو كان نوع السلاح اللي معك؟ قلت له كاميرا بكل وقاحة. قلت له كاميرا توشيبا. وما شلت سلاح أنا، وأنا بكره حمل السلاح، وإنه يقول لي ما بدي الاعترافات. خذوا. أخذوني مددوني بالأرض، كسروا لي ضلاعي هاي الأضلع، وإنه يقول يبدو إنك ما بدك تعترف. أنت بدك تعترف، ما اعترفت بدنا نقتلك. قلت له ما هاي اللي عندي. جاب المرة الثانية شبحني، كلبشة من هون، كلبشة من هون على شباك هيك بارتفاع 40 سنتي عن الأرض. فوت بعد ما شبحني ورجعني على المحقق، قال لا مش نخليك راح تعترف غصبا عنك يعني. جابوا كلامب، احنا نقوله بالمصطلح الانجليزي كلامب، وإله ماندرل هاند، يحطه بالجهاز الذكري. طبعا بعد ما يشلحك الكلسون ولا تظل عاري مثل ما الله خلقك، ويحط الكلامب ويبلش يشد ويشد ويشد، يحاول يضب على جهازك الذكري. آخر شيء تحسه انه راح يقطع لك اياه، وواحد من ورا يحط لك خازوق بالمؤخرة تبعك ويضرب عليك. يعني شيء ما يتصوره عقل البشري، ما يتصوره. ناس ماتت كثير تحت التعذيب.
Mazen was forced to give a false confession under torture.
And how do you feel about the people who did that to you?
في الله بيحسبه، في قضاء بيحسبه. راح أسعى إلا ما أجيبه مع المحكمة وأخذ حقي بالقانون. حقي وحق رفقاتي اللي قتلوا. لو بتكلفني حياتي بدي لاحق ولا بجيبه مع القضاء.
In a secret location in Europe, Bill Wiley's investigators are building a criminal case against the Syrian regime, using their cache of smuggled intelligence documents. They have interviewed hundreds of people whose names appear on the regime's arrest lists and interrogation notes.
The treatment of detainees in different parts of the country did not differ in any substantive way. Too many people have been physically abused, too many people have been psychologically abused, too many people have died in detention of unnatural causes to say that there's anything else but a widespread and indeed systematic practice of abuse.
Witnesses say the abuses weren't confined to the detention centres. Even when they were sent to hospital for treatment, the torture continued. Mazen says he was so severely beaten in detention, he was urinating blood. He was taken to a military hospital close to the detention facility, Hospital 601.
وإني قلت تنسى اسمك مازن الحمانة. قلت له شو اسمي؟ وإني يقول لي اسمك 1858. قال أعيد شو اسمك؟ قلت له 1858. قال تنسى مازن الحمادة، هذا اسمك الجديد. تمام. توصل المشفى، تفوت على التواليت الأول تلاقي جثث بالأرض. مصفطات فوق بعضها. يا مشروعي وين؟ تفتح تسكر الباب، تفتح التواليت الثاني تلاقي لك زي جثتين. لا شو وين أنا يا الله؟ تصير تحكي حالك إنه وين أنا يا أخي؟ تحس حالك راح تجن. بعد 5 أيام رجعوني على الجوية. لسه ما فتوا على المهجع نفسه تبعي، رجعتوا عليه. قلت لهم اللي يقول لكم روح على المشفى لا حد يروح، ترى المشفى تصفية. فعلا اسمه مصلخ وليس مشفى. 601.
Hospital 601 is less than a kilometre from President Assad's palace. Detainees were also taken to Tishreen Military Hospital, where Mohammed worked for the regime.
رقيب أول فكان يغطي الجرحى المعتقلين بشرشف أبيض، بيخليه يغطي وجهه. لما يغطي وجهه يقول له أنت الشهيد رقم كذا. رسالة أو إقناع له أنه أنتم رح تعدمون كلكم. فأحدهم رفع الغطاء وبكى وسألني رح يعدمونا اليوم ولا لا. قلت له أنا الله أعلم، أنا ما لي علاقة، أنا وظيفتي غير هاي الوظيفة، غير الشرطة. فقال لي أمانة في رقبتك، أمانة في رقبتك. هذه الجملة أنا ما أنساها طول عمري لهذا المعتقل. إذا أعدمونا في هذا المكان في يوم من الأيام اكتب عنا جملة واحدة، إنه هذول كانوا في تشرين العسكري في مستشفى قدموا أرواحهم مشاعل على درب حرية سوريا من نظام الأسد الفاشي.
Hospitals are implicated in the regime's own documentation. War crimes investigators found this memo from the judicial police in one province to the head of the criminal security branch there, complaining of a problem.
Quote, parents and relatives of the arrested persons are daily asking about the fate of sons, fathers, and brothers. You ought to listen to what they have to say. The hospital refrigerator is full of unidentified corpses that have disintegrated since they have been there for a long period of time. And what's particularly interesting in this case is that this individual has copied the Minister of Justice. So this localized problem is being brought to the attention of Damascus.
The top of the regime was being notified of the criminal nature of their detention policy. The Syrian regime know who they have detained and what has happened to them, but they refuse to give families any information. There are tens of thousands of people still missing in detention, including over 2,000 children. Sometimes prisoners are released. Mariam's son Aham was freed after 3 months, but Mansour was still locked up. He and his cellmates had no contact with the outside world.
I talk to them, I say to them, I want to tell you something that's important, but we need to keep it secret. They said, okay, then I told them we have like 57 people here and we need to write all their names with details as much as possible. So when someone of us go out, can take those names with them. So we started like looking for the tools.
They tore off pieces of their shirts, found a fragment of chicken bone to write with, and used rust and their own blood as ink.
And we started collecting names and writing them every day. All the names of the detainees. We were worried that somebody could leak this news to the jailers. It's like leaking military information to the enemy, because the names of detainees in a military place is secret information. You could be hanged for it if they knew about it.
Meanwhile, Mariam's son Aham was back at university doing his master's in dentistry. It was there, 6 months after his release, that he was seized and beaten by members of the students' union aligned to the regime. They handed him over to military intelligence and he was taken to detention facility 215.
هون يعني حسيت صاعقة نزلت علي. رحت رفعنا للنيابة العامة للنائب، فتت عند النائب العام، يعني إن ابني اتاخذ ومفقود، ما أعرف هو عايش وميت وإيش وكذا. قال قدمي طلب، فقدمنا طلب. طبعا تالت القضية وما طلع معنا شيء بهاي الفترة.
Mariam did not give up. Risking arrest herself, she continued to pursue the regime for any information about her missing son. In detention, Mansour had secretly documented the names of his fellow detainees on scraps of material, information that their families on the outside were desperate for. The cellmates now needed a plan to smuggle the pieces out.
One of us, he was a tailor, and he said, I can do it. I can put it inside the hem of the shirt and inside the collars, and it will not appear, so nobody will suspect it. We pledged to each other that the first one who will be out will wear it and take it out with him. My name was called. It was me.
Mansour got the names out.
When I look at those shirt pieces written with blood of people who are still there, some of them I knew, I got news they are dead. I have their blood with me. I have the handwriting of a man. These shirts are, I feel it's filled with souls, with their souls. I called many families, and the families need to know, at least, they have the right to know if their sons are dead or alive.
Mariam was still searching for Aham 18 months after he disappeared in detention. She was constantly requesting information about him from the military police.
فما كانوا يقولوا لي إنه شيء، حتى في المساعد تعاطف معي من كثر زياراتي إله.
The assistant gave Mariam this note.
لفت انتباهي مباشرة كلمة جثة 320. صرخت صار جثة وإلى رقم، صار حقيقي الوضع، يعني ما كان في أمل، هلأ ما عاد في أمل.
The note says that Aham, corpse 320, died on the 11th of November 2012, which was only 6 days after he was detained. All this time, the regime had records about his death, but had refused to tell Mariam. Like other families of detainees, she was finally given a death certificate, stating that her son had simply died of a heart attack in a hospital. She refused to believe that version of events and was determined to find out the truth.
الهدف أنا اللي كنت عم بسعى له من وراء هاي الأشياء هو إنه إثبات إنه هو توفي بالأمن. تابعته بكتير يوميا، بشكل يومي، حتى ضجوا مني كلهم، بس إنه ما حصلت على اللي أنا كان الهدف الأساسي فيه، إنه المدعو أيهم غزول توفي لدى توقيفه لدى إحدى الجهات الأمنية.
Mariam believed she now had proof that her son had died in regime detention. As thousands of Syrians continued to disappear in the network of detention facilities across the country, the regime continued to deny the allegations of torture that abounded. But then came a defector, here in the Blue Hood. His identity hidden, he was codenamed Caesar. He claimed to be a member of the Syrian military police, working as a forensics photographer at Tishreen Military Hospital and Hospital 601. He escaped from Syria with thousands of photographs. For Stephen Rapp, then US Ambassador for Global Criminal Justice in the Obama administration, the photographs were a breakthrough.
When I finally gained access to the images, which I did in April of 2014, and sat in the computer and went through them, one after the other, it's like pictures of hell. The most excruciating, sort of painful things that you can imagine. Examples with eyes gouged. Then you also see pain on the face, kind of the frozen images of the last moments of life.
Some of the corpses are of boys. There are thousands of bodies in the photographs. This picture was taken in the garage of Military Hospital 601.
But of course, the first thing is the shock that the regime itself is taking these photographs. They were actually numbering, indexing, photographing, building files on the people that they tortured to death in total violation of international law, of their own laws, and we're keeping meticulous records of it.
Stephen met the defector, Caesar, now in hiding.
One of the first questions I asked Caesar is, why would they do this? They want a record of the death. They have to do a death certificate. I mean, what's the reason here? And he said, well, those are part of it, but part of it is the regime is so bureaucratic that it's stupid. Everybody has to follow these sort of standard procedures, and that's what they were doing in this particular case. And in the process of doing it, creating extremely powerful evidence against themselves.
These are images from two of the files that Caesar and his team of forensic photographers created. The text confirms that the photographs are of detainees, that they were held at detention facility 215, and that the bodies were photographed at Hospital 601 according to standard procedures.
When someone dies in prison, what do? You send the body to the investigation bureau. Evidence would have been gathered from the corpse. It'd be possible then to dispose of the corpse in a legal fashion. But it would be going through this sort of play act.
For Stephen, the evidence against the Syrian regime for mass atrocity crimes is some of the strongest he has ever seen.
But you've got facilities that are part of the regime under the control of the president. So they can't say, oh, it's a bunch of crazy thugs that were doing it, and we were against that. We wanted people treated humanely, but sometimes boys will be boys, and I guess we just didn't know. Well, now they know, and they're not doing anything about it, not punishing a single soul. So you then have a case under international law of so-called command responsibility that makes commanders responsible if they know, and they don't do anything. You don't even have to prove they gave an order. It's enough. So this makes this, the legal equivalent of a slam dunk.
Families trawl through these headshots from the Caesar photographs, looking for their loved ones. There are over 6,700 corpses of people who died in regime custody. Among the photographs is corpse 320, belonging to detention facility 215.
I looked at it, and I knew it was him. It was him, it was his eyes, his everything.
هلا بس كمان استخبرت حسيت شفت الصورة كمان هيك نزل راحة كتير كبيرة ولا حاملتها معي بالموبايل يعني إنه هي إثبات هي إنه آخر لحظاته هي إنه هيك كونه ما شفته ما شفنا جسته فهلا أحيانا عملنا مجموعات ورشات نوع العدالة الانتقالية، فبيسألون شو الطلب، شو بتطلبي بس إذا صارت الأمور، بقول له بدي قبر لابني.
هذا من الثورة، هذا كنا لاقين حالنا بيه هيك. نمشي بكرة بالمظاهرة هيك.
Mazen is going to Geneva to demonstrate outside the United Nations and call for the release of Syria's disappeared detainees. He's printed out their photos to take with him. In some cases, entire families have been imprisoned.
هاي الدكتورة بطلة سوريا والعرب بالشطرنج، وهذا زوجها، وهذول أولادها كلهم معتقلين.
Mazen was released after 18 months in detention, but he has several close family members still missing in President Assad's prisons. He doesn't know if they're dead or alive.
Yeah. 1 minute.
It's 5 years to the day that protests began in Syria. Mazen's fellow travellers to Geneva took part in those demonstrations, and they're still singing the songs of the Syrian revolution. Like Mazen, many of them were detained and tortured. Some have had their homes destroyed. All of them have friends or family who've been disappeared by the regime. They're determined to get their loved ones freed.
طالعين لنوصل هاي الرسالة اليوم قدام الأمم المتحدة، إنه هذول الأطفال وهذول الشباب وهذول النساء معتقلات عند بشار الأسد، من ضمنهم الأطفال. المعتقلين لازم يطلعوا اليوم.
Tens of thousands of people are currently disappeared in regime detention. The UN has accused the Syrian government of the murder, rape, torture and extermination of detainees, all crimes against humanity. But a Security Council resolution to refer Syria to the International Criminal Court was vetoed by Russia and China. Much of the international focus has been on the crimes of ISIS and other Islamist groups that the Assad regime are fighting in Syria. They have also imprisoned civilians, though on a much smaller scale. Mazen is campaigning to release those detainees too.
وكمان شرحنا للناس الأجانب إنه شو هذول قصتهم، مين شو مساوين.
People are still being arrested by the Syrian regime. Despite the campaigning, little is being done to save the detainees.
Hundreds of thousands of people that have fled.
Stephen Rapp has left his job as an ambassador with the Obama administration and is campaigning.
And the cry from Syria is for justice.
He's trying to bring public attention to the victims in the Caesar photographs in exhibitions around the world.
And I want to thank you for being here tonight, to bearing witness to these crimes and stating your solidarity with these victims.
Stephen is frustrated by the failure of the UN to act on the overwhelming evidence of the culpability of the Syrian regime.
We're talking about the security services here. We're talking about state security. We're talking about military security. We're talking about Air Force intelligence within the chain of command, official forces. This is Syria. This is the clearest case that I've ever seen. This is abundant evidence. Now, we've got more, so much more than we need. You know, it's embarrassing in a way, and it particularly is embarrassing that we've got no court to take it to.
But there is one route to justice, and Stephen is pursuing it. Hundreds of Syrian families have identified their loved ones from the Caesar photographs. If just one of the thousands of victims was found to be a European national, or one of the perpetrators of these crimes was found on European soil, that would present a way of opening a case against the Syrian regime in a European court.
How's your health and everything? You feeling okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Mazen is helping Stephen with the case. He's trying to identify regime perpetrators who have slipped into Europe.
He very much wants to be a public witness, and that frankly puts him greatly at risk. And it's sort of like, after you've done all of this to me, what more can you really do? I remember women whose children had been killed and who came to speak to me in another conflict zone, and then later that day they were visited by security forces who threatened them, and they said, just go ahead and kill us, just kill us. You know, if we can't tell this story, then we might as well die. And so there is that point that witnesses reach, which makes it hard for any of us to discount the truth that they're telling.
من البداية مقررة إنه لازم قصة أيهم، مو لأنه أيهم بس لأنه نحن مثلا قادرين إنه نحكي، قادرين إنه نوصل اللي صار فيه، لأنه هو في منه مئات وآلاف هلأ صار. يعني بدي محاكمة لبشار الأسد ورؤساء الفروع الأمنية كلها، محاكمة. أيهم كان هيك سر سعادتنا يعني. لا أحيانا بتذكر الأشياء الحلوة، بس الأكثر هو التعذيب، والأكثر إنه صار عظام. مر فترات يعني أيام هيك أيام هيك.
Like most of the families whose loved ones have died in detention, Mariam still has no idea what's happened to her son's body.
هلا لو مثلا مدفون بقبور جماعية بنجهة المنطقة هاي، يعني في أمل إنه بكرة يتحاكم بشار الأسد وتطلع هاي ونسبة DNA وكذا. بس إذا كان صحيح إنه عم يفرمون، كمان كثير الوضع صعب.
President Assad denies any wrongdoing. When confronted with the Caesar photographs, this was his response.
Who verified the pictures? Who they verified that they're not edited and photoshopped and so on? It's just propaganda, it's just fake news. They want to demonize the Syrian government. In every war you can have any individual crime. It happened all over the world, anywhere, but it's not a policy.
In one prison alone, Sednaya, Amnesty International estimates that up to 13,000 people were executed between 2011 and 2015 in mass hangings that it says were authorized by the highest levels of government.
Do you know what goes on in that prison? Have you been there?
No, I haven't been. I've been in the presidential palace, not in the presidential.
When asked about the allegations in our film, President Assad did not respond.
مثل العادة هو هيك بيعمل، فهو هيك بينفي، يعني بينفي كل شيء، عايش بواقع لحاله هو.
There has been a major development. The sister of one of the victims in the Caesar photographs is a dual Syrian-Spanish national and is filing a case against the Syrian regime for the torture and murder of her brother, claiming that she is a victim of the crime. Almudena Bernabeu, a renowned international human rights lawyer, is taking the case. She and Stephen are filing it today in Spain's National Court in Madrid. The charge is state terrorism.
When a state itself use those institutions to terrorize their own people, basically to send a message, if you dare rise up, if you dare demand your God-given rights, you're going to be tortured and murdered.
Stephen and the legal team are naming 9 individuals in the complaint, including the leaders of Syria's intelligence and security services, part of President Assad's inner circle. The focus will now turn to getting arrest warrants to apprehend the alleged perpetrators if they leave Syria.
This is the beginning of justice for those victims.
While a court case may bring justice for the dead, the urgent need is to free those still inside.
We need those who are detained to be free. People are still detained. Most of them are underground. We all know this. We have evidence, we have proof about that. Why we are doing nothing about them?
طيب سؤال أخير، أنا بدي أوجه رسالة أخيرة. بتمنى أول شيء أنا بدي أوجه رسالة لكل اللي راح يشوف الفيلم. هذا الفيلم اللي حكيته حقيقة صارت معي وليس تخيل. حقيقة، وعائلتي اليوم مفقودة عند بشار الأسد. تماما. كل واحد يشوف الفيلم أو يتابعه. أناشد كل المجتمع الدولي، كل حقوق الإنسان، كل من يدعي الإنسانية، أنقذوا المعتقلين.
Coming up, 24 hours in A&E.